Welcome to my stay-at-home workout. You may have noticed I took yesterday off. My body was telling me it was time for a recovery day, so I took it. Maybe you did too. And today we're going to get into some core work. I'm actually going to show you a bunch of different plank variations today. Planks are awesome for improving core stability, also for strengthening the lower back and all those muscles around the spine. So basically how we're going to treat this is I got 6 or 7 different plank variations I'm going to show you, and we're going to treat them in groups of 2. So we'll start with the most basic, and that way we have our core nice and braced for those more difficult variations. Okay, so we're going to do some side planks to start. I'm actually going to do them this way so don't get blasted by the sun like that. So side plank is going to be from the elbow. The upper arm's going to be straight up and down. I'm going to start on this first side plank with a strided foot position, which is the most kind of basic foot position. So my top leg is going to be strided forward in front of my bottom leg. Not stacked, but strided. Alright, from here we're going to bridge up at the hips. I got to keep my ribs down, my core nice and tight, and I want to be a nice straight line from the top of my head through the bottom of my feet. I'm squeezing this elbow in here towards my torso and keeping this area nice and tight in the process. I also like to point my toes up towards the top of my feet just to keep tightness in the lower part of the legs there. We're not going to hold this position too long. We're actually going to transfer from here just into a classic forearm plank. Okay, so on your forearms, you want to make sure your butt's not too high up in the air, and you also want to tuck in your ribs so that your midsection is not sagging. Once again, nice straight line to the top of the head. You're going to keep those shoulder blades protracted forward so you're not hanging out on your shoulders, but you're also not shrugging. So you notice I'm showing some neck here. I've got distance between my shoulders and my ears. I don't want them tucked up around the ears, and I'm not letting my head droop in the process. We're staying nice and tight here, just as a tight straight line as much as you can. And then we're going to roll into side plank on the other side, also from the elbow. Notice I got the top leg forward on a nice straight line to the top of my head, squeezing in here nice and tight. Ribs down. I just say ribs down to avoid any arching in the spine, because if you let that rib cage flare, you're going to get some arch. Holding here for a few more seconds. And let's relax. We'll go through that little circuit one more time. This time I'm going to up the ante a little bit just by stacking my feet. So I'll have ankle on top of ankle, and that makes things just a little bit more challenging in terms of stability. It introduces a bit of a balance challenge going on there. You'll notice how it kind of elevates things. So we're going to go for about 20 seconds in each of those positions. Once again, we'll do side plank with the stacked feet, then we'll go into the classic forearm plank just the same way, and then we'll do side plank, stacked feet on the other side. Okay. So we want to get in that nice straight line, bridging up at the hip, squeezing in here. This is straight up and down, okay? Toes pointing up, ribs down nice and tight, straight line to the top of the head. I'm just going to hang out in this position, keeping that spine neutral. Let's roll into forearm plank now. Alright, you want to make sure the butt's not too high up in the air, and you want to tuck those ribs in. Think about knitting your ribs and your hips together. Showing lots of neck. Nice straight line. Up on the balls of your feet or your toes. That's going to help you keep that straight line. Now let's roll into side plank on the other side. Once again, we got those feet in that stacked position, toes pointing up, nice straight line, ribs down, staying tight, squeezing that elbow in towards you. And now we're going to relax. A little breather, a little sip of water. And we'll go into what will be basically a level up or a progression from both of those types of planks. So we're going to hit a side plank. It's called the Copenhagen variation. So we're going to have our feet elevated. So for that, you're going to want something like this couch. Works perfectly for me because it's got space on the bottom and the top. So it'd be like a bench in a gym. And for the forearm plank, we're just going to introduce some scapular shrugs. So actually more of a mobility drill than anything for the shoulders, for the scapula there. And we're going to open up the chest and the upper back with that stuff while still holding a nice solid plank. Okay, so let's hit those Copenhagens first, okay? So basically, I don't want to be in the sun on this one. What you're going to do is you're going to have one leg on the top of whatever surface you're using, whether that be a chair or whatever it may be, and you're going to have one leg on the bottom. You're going to be hitting that side plank in basically the same way, this straight arm up and down, squeezing in towards the sides, straight line to the top of the head, all of that, except your feet are elevated, and you're going to be wanting to squeeze in that surface between your legs the whole time. Now, do you want to make it easier? We're going to start, you can start from the knee. I'm actually going to start from about halfway down the shin here, and then, of course, the hardest variation will be right from the ankles. Okay, just a little bit of, you know, less support for you every time. So let's start from about halfway down the shin, or the knee if you prefer. Okay, we're going to bridge up here, nice straight line, think your ribs down, squeezing this elbow in towards the side, and the whole time, especially with that bottom leg, I'm squeezing those legs together. Also, I want to point those toes. You notice how that adds that increased tightness, which becomes really important here. You're going to probably feel this in your inner thighs here with those adductors. Definitely a tough variation. I'm going to keep holding this one for a few more seconds. Once again, we're showing lots of neck. We're not letting our head get tucked in, you know, we're a nice straight line. Let's relax here. I'm going to turn around and do the same thing on the other side. From that same point on the shin or wherever you were on the leg, I'm going to bridge up. Nice straight line, squeezing in with that elbow, ribs down, keep super tight. Squeezing those legs together. That bottom leg's probably going to get pretty tough. It's going to want to drop. You're going to want to keep it up there as much as you can. Neutralize that spine. Keep the core tight. Don't neglect the abs just because the legs are doing a lot of work here. Holding for a few more seconds. Let's relax. And now let's try the forearm plank with the scapular shrugs. Okay? Alright, so basically here you're going to get into a classic forearm plank the exact same way we just did, but then you're going to be retracting and protracting your shoulder blades, sort of like opening and closing your wings, and as a consequence, your body's going to move up and down a little bit. You still want to keep that nice straight line. You want to prevent the midsection from sagging, okay, so you don't want to let this happen. You want to stay nice and solid here, ribs and hips nice and tight together. So let's get into that position here. Nice tall plank to start with. So my shoulder blades right now are in that protracted position. Okay, now I'm going to retract them. Protract and retract, just like that. Let's do that 5 more times. Protract, nice and slow, retract. Protract and retract. Let's do that twice more. And relax. That one might feel a little weird or a little tricky at first, and that's no worries, it definitely can. But you also might notice how it really opens up the chest. This is a great one if you get sort of into a pulled forward posture. Commonly, if you feel tightness in here, if you have a limited range of motion, when you try to maybe put your arms up above or behind your head, you kind of feel like a little twinge there. This is a great one to open up this whole area here, and over time help you increase your range of motion there. Little breather. Now we're going to do each of those one more time. In terms of the Copenhagen side plank, going to progress things just a bit by moving to the variation with just the ankles. So basically just the feet are clamping on that surface. You stay where you're at if you like, or you can join me in that. All up to you. And then those scapular shrug planks, they're just going to stay exactly the same. Okay? So, you notice I've gone a little further from the couch. It's basically just my ankle, foot on top of there. Alright, so I'm going to bridge up. I'm going to squeeze that surface, point those toes. I'm squeezing this elbow into the side. Got my ribs down, my core's tight. Nice straight line to the top of the head. Just holding this position as solidly as possible. Don't hang out on your shoulder blade. Keep protracting that shoulder blade. A few more seconds. relax. Flipping over. Same thing on this side. Keep that tightness. Point those toes, ribs down. Focus on keeping that spine neutral, right through the top of your head. Keep squeezing those legs together. It's probably getting tough around now. A few more seconds here. Let's relax. All right, let's hit those scapular shrug planks one more time. We're going to start once again in the classic plank, and then we're going to retract the shoulder blades and we'll go down low. And then we'll come up high again. We'll do that 5 times. Stay nice and tight. All right. 1, 2. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. 3, 4, and 5. And relax. All right, that feels nice and easy after the Copenhagen's. Get a little water, we'll move on. So these next 2 I got for you, I'm going to progress things a little bit more. So I'm going to hit some star planks, which is basically, in my opinion, one of the toughest side plank variations, if not the toughest. And we're also going to hit some bear crawl planks, which are a little different from your traditional forearm plank, but still a plank that's going to primarily engage your frontal abdominals and the deeper abdominals, whereas the side planks, we're working more with the obliques, of course. Okay, and basically how we're going to treat that is, we're going to hold for 10 seconds aside for the star planks, and for these bear crawl planks, it's actually going to be counted based on your breath. So we're going to hold it for 5 deep breaths, however long that takes. Okay, a few more seconds to breathe here. We don't want to be going into core work, which is fairly precise. At least these particular exercises are, while we're still sort of gasping for breath. It's just not a great way to learn something. Okay, so star planks is a side plank, but rather than being from the elbow, it's going to be from the hand. So it's basically from the base of the palm. So this is a little bit more of a shoulder dominant movement. All right, so here's how you're going to start. Just like so. See how my ankles are stacked? I'm actually going to sneak this arm a little more under here so it's a more nice straight line. And then I'm just going to elevate those limbs. I can bring this hand nice and high up here, but I'm going to keep that foot just about a foot above the other foot. All right, once again, nice straight line, ribs down. Of course, it's quite a balanced challenge. I'm going to hold for a few more seconds here. Point those toes up, it helps. 3, 2, 1, relax. So you can see how that one is fairly challenging. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to try not to be blinded here, just so I can face you while we do this. So you notice I started in that stacked ankle position, and then as I raised my arm, I lifted that leg slowly, under control, using my hip muscles, my abductors. Right, I did a little abduction as I raised that leg up. Okay, that's what we call that. So once again, we're on that arm. This is how you want to start. All right, actually, I like this better. Just straight down. It's not necessarily the prettiest star, but it's a really nice, healthy shoulder position. Because now all my weight goes right down the forearm into the base of the palm. Let's raise those limbs. Point those toes. Ooh, this is a very warm spot. We're just going to keep holding this position, keeping the core tight for a few more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Let's relax. All right, and then the bear crawl plank. You may have joined me before, and we may have done some bear crawls together, and you may have even seen the bear crawl plank a time or two. Basically, you're going to get into the position as you would for a bear crawl, but rather than crawling, you're just going to hold, a static hold in that position where you're taking deep breaths. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to start on all fours, like so. All right, I really want to let my shoulder blades protract forward, so I'm kind of pressing into the ground. So I'm not like this, I'm not like this, I'm nice and like this,
and neutral through the top of the head. The spine is quite neutral. From here, I'm going to get up on the balls of my feet, and I'm going to pick those knees up. Now, you notice my shins are about parallel to the ground. Now what I'm going to do, take a big breath, tuck in those ribs so my back's nice and flat, and I'm going to hold this for 5 deep breaths. Keeping those shoulders away from the ears. Staying tight. One more. Let's relax. All right, so there you have it. We got the star plank and we got the bear crawl plank. And we're going to hit each of those one more time after we take just a little bit of a breather here. And then after that, we are going to do a little bit of a finisher here, which is going to be a plank variation that's fairly upper body dominant and dynamic. So it involves a little bit of movement. So of course, I'll show you what that is and your option as to whether you want to join me there. Okay, so once again, we're addressing that star plank. Remember, you start with that stacked ankle position and you want that nice straight arm here. And you want to keep those ribs down. Basically basic plank stuff, except with a little bit of a twist, right? Okay, so let's start in this stable position. Raising those limbs. Hanging out. Just chilling. Keeping the ribs down. Keeping a straight line with those toes pointed. A few more seconds. Let's relax. Just so I don't get blinded, and since you've seen it from the other angle already, I'm going to do it this way. And you can watch from the back. Notice the shoulder blade protraction. Okay? Let's get up into that tight position first. Raising those limbs. The arm can go nice and high if you like. But that foot really only needs to be around 12 inches above the other one. Mine's a little higher just because I've been doing this a while. Pointing those toes, keeping that tightness. Fighting for balance. And let's relax. Let's hit those bear crawl planks. Once again, shoulder blades protracting forward, reaching for the ground. Big bracing breath, keeping that back nice and straight. Let's pick up those knees, shins parallel. And let's relax. Stretch that out a little bit. Bring those shoulder blades back since we've just been pulling them forward a lot. Now, last on the docket, going to do some plank up downs. So basically, that involves moving from a classic forearm plank, which we did at the beginning, to a high plank or a push-up position. Basically the same thing. We're going to go up and down 10 times. I'm going to take a little breather and then we'll go up and down 10 more times. And that's it. So just a little bit of a cardio element in there. Definitely some muscular endurance going on. There's also going to be a little bit of a balance challenge. So it's an exercise for stability as well. And the way that that gets incorporated is basically you can only go up with one arm at a time, right? So you tend to sway back and forth. The way you want to deal with that is alternate the limbs with which you're starting to go up and down every time. So we keep things nice and balanced. Okay, so let's get into that classic forearm plank. Nice and tight, and from here, let's go up, now let's go down. Up, and down. See what I mean? All right, we're going to do that 8 more times. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 3 more. Up, down, up, down, up, down. I lied. 1 more. Up, down. Relax. So it's definitely difficult to keep that nice stable position and to keep that midsection from sagging and to keep that straight line while you're going up and down. The faster you go, the tougher that's going to be. That's part of the challenge of the exercise. In terms of intensity here, speed in some ways kind of equals intensity on this exercise, so you modify that however you like. You don't got to go as fast, but you can go faster. It's all up to you. Take a little breather, about 10 more seconds, and we'll do that 10 more times. Trying to keep those hips as stable and quiet as possible as we go up and down. And if you got to slow it down to make that happen, absolutely do. Okay, let's start in that classic forearm plank. All right, you might want to widen your feet out for this particular plank. It'll help with stability for sure. Core nice and tight, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, halfway, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, last one, up, down. Let's relax. Might have snuck an extra one in there. That's okay, we're at the end. Nice work, folks. Time to foam roll, cool down, stretch it out, get your protein, and I'll see you back here soon. Take care.